Good morning, podcast listeners. This is Ed Franklin with the Ed Franklin No Limits podcast. Seems like it's forever since I've done a podcast. The last one I did, I was telling you that I was coming out with one, and some things got in the way and did not come out with one. So here I am back at it. It's June 15th, about 10:15 in the morning. And you can always contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. If you'd like to be on my podcast or have a guest that you think would be a great guest on my podcast, please have them contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. And today we're going to talk about business cliches and all these things that I hear out there in the world, and all the experts I listen to, and all these people that, everybody's an expert these days. We all, and I hope I'm not coming off as thinking I'm an expert, because it seems like the older I get, the less I know about anything, because things change so quickly. We're in an interesting time politically right now. The economy is out of control, and we're all going to have to buckle down and do some things. And what we're going to talk about today is going to be really important. So I said about business cliches, and you've heard all these business cliches like get out of your comfort zone and think outside of the box, and take it to another level, and win-win situation, and best practices at the end of the day, raise the bar. And my most confusing one, it is what it is. I don't even understand what that means, but it's one of those cliches you hear often. People will say, well, it is what it is. But there's one cliche that I think is so relevant in our lives, and I'm bad at it. I think sometimes you're bad at it. And I know that there's a lot of businesses out there that are bad at it. And it's called trusting the process. And I actually took some notes this time for my podcast, which I usually don't do. So if you see me looking off to the right, it's because I'm looking at notes. Trust the process in everything you do in life, whether it's relationship, whether it's, planning an exercise regimen, raising kids. Small businesses know this. They gotta, you got to trust that process. Things do not happen overnight. And in this world of getting things from Amazon the next day, or sometimes the same day, whatever whichever way you ordered it, we want everything to happen so fast. And really the best things in life, or anything in life, really doesn't happen overnight. Even if you're even if it's yard work, or you're cleaning, or you're building something, there's a process to everything we do. Now, of course, cleaning and those things, hopefully those go quicker because they're a pain in the ass. But, there's always a way. You set up, you get your tools out, you get your cleaning tools out, you get rags out, you get all these things. You start in one room and you go through the house room by room, or however you plan on doing it. There's still a process to it. When you're working out, when you start, if you haven't worked out in a long time, starting is the hardest part, right? And you got to take it day by day, because you're not going to just run on a treadmill for 20 minutes and all of a sudden lose 40 pounds. It just doesn't work that way. So it's so important to trust the process as we're doing anything in life. And I think where this breaks down the most, and for those of you that don't know, that job that I took on February 28th has ended already. And it's really because this company did not trust the process. We had talked about it. We had discussed it at length about how long this would take to get to the clientele they wanted to get to. And that was what the whole job, the whole hiring process was about, was trusting this process, knowing it was going to take a long time to get to the people they wanted me to get to. And I was doing my due diligence, doing all the things I was supposed to do. And it ended up to them that it wasn't a good fit for myself and the company. And it really came down to not trusting that process. Sales takes a long time. And I know it's hard for companies because they're shelling out money for a salesperson like I was getting paid. And things aren't happening overnight, because it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. And for you salespeople out there, you understand this, you know this. You're not going to just all of a sudden walk into an account and they're going to say, oh God, I've been waiting for you here. We're going to do business now. You have to build that relationship. You have to build that credibility for the company. And so when they're paying that salary, they're not getting that quick money. They're just not patient enough. And this is the this is what happens with younger people too. A lot of times they think that things happen overnight. I've been in sales for several years, 30 plus years. And every job I've ever been in, any sales job, there's a process to meeting somebody. They say on average, it takes 9 to 12 times before anybody even remembers your name or knows what you do. So as I was going through that process, like I said, it just wasn't fast enough for the company. And the problem with that is the amount of money it costs a company when they want to hurry things up, because now that I've left, they've got to start all over with a new salesman if they decide to hire that, or they're not going to get, they're not going to get what they wanted to originally when we sat down and talked. But let's talk about our personal life and trusting process. Another piece of that is trusting ourselves. Do we trust ourselves to do the due diligence every day? Let's just talk about the gym, because it's a great metaphor for life. Or any exercise you're doing. It doesn't have to be in the gym. It can be going out and walking 30 minutes a day. You've got to commit to that process, right? And like I said, it's kind of a day-to-day thing. And we just need to get back to basics when it comes to building your business, building your body, building, eating right, doing all those things. The best thing I can recommend for that is to write things down, right? Get a plan together, put it on a piece of paper. If you got to get a yellow sheet and just draw a line down the middle to the pros and cons. The pros are I'm going to feel better. The cons are food's not going to taste as good. Whatever the con is to the whole thing. And it's hard to focus, and especially when it's personal. You have so many things going on in your life. You're taking care of children. You're taking care of grandkids. You're having to go to a job. You're having to do all these things, and you've got to put some time aside to get this process done. And it's over and over and over. And, I've been going through, when I'm looking on my Facebook posts, I'll go to memories and I'll go back 9, 10 years from whenever we started doing Facebook on a regular basis. And I'm seeing memes that I put, and I'm seeing things that I typed, and I'm seeing, oh, this is it, man, I'm starting today, and this and that. And unfortunately, 10 years later, I haven't even scratched probably the goal that I want to scratch. Probably haven't gotten to the point where I want to be. I should have been there a long time ago, but life gets in the way. But you know what? Part of my platform on this podcast was excuses. And there's just a lot of excuses in between 10 years ago and today. And I know I was at the gym today doing my due diligence, and I'm going later today with Kit and Carson. And it's just about that constant, discipline to get back to that and eat right and think about what you're doing, while you're working out. Is this good for me? Is this going to help me move forward in my life? I see a lot of networking opportunities on Facebook. Specifically, I won't mention the name of the networking group, but what I find, and I think networking is paramount to your business. I think you need to get out there and talk to people, but you also need to make sure that networking group is moving you forward, right? It's a group of either new people or the right people. I find that a lot of these smaller networking groups are super nice people. It's like going to a reunion, and seeing people you haven't seen in a while and catching up on their families and all that. And while I think that's really good, if the goal is to get more business, catching up with someone's kids if they graduated from school isn't helping your business move forward. Yes, you're learning about them, they're learning about you. You have, it's nice to catch up with those people, but when you're there to get business, you need to find the right group. It's no different in your friends. If you have friends that are, let's just say they're going out drinking every weekend and you're going with them and you're not moving forward in your goals, then maybe it's time to rethink how you spend your time. I'm not saying those people aren't good people, friendly people, relatives, all, the greatest people in the world. But if you're not moving yourself forward, and you really desire that. I mean, look, if you're not interested in getting in better shape, or interested in growing your business, or interested in making more money, that's your prerogative. You don't have to do what I want. You do what you want. That's the beauty of dreams and all these things we do, we all want different things. So, as you're planning out that goal, you've got to decide who you're hanging out with. Are they moving you forward? Or are they holding you back? I think sometimes the worst people we can be around are the ones that want us safe, because not safe physically, but safe, they don't want us to fail or get burned or, have maybe too big of a dream, which I don't think there's anything I don't think that's even real. I think you can't dream too big. In the book Good to Great, if you haven't read Good to Great, I guess now it's an old book, but Jim Collins, he's a Stanford professor, wrote this book Good to Great, and it's very much what I'm talking about right now. It's very much about a process, about doing things consistently correct, and making small little changes that are going to affect a bigger goal. He talks about a hedgehog. Hedgehogs live underground, and they just do a little bit every day, a little bit every day, a little bit every day until they get to their goal. Talks about the flywheel effect. If you don't know what a flywheel is, it's a very large, heavy wheel. And once you get that flywheel moving, it just takes a little bit of a tap to keep it moving all the time. And that's really what we need to do. So as we're going to the gym, or we're doing that networking out there, it's those little taps. It's getting back to people. It's doing all these really basic things that we forget to do. I'm still selling and for brilliant marketing ideas. And a lot of times I'll go see customers. They're very interested. They want to do all these things. And then they say, well, I get busy. I couldn't get back to you, things like that. I'm very good at getting back to people because I know it's important. And if I said I'm going to get back to you, I want to get back to you. But people don't always, they get so many things going on in their life that they can't, they lose their discipline when they're getting back to you. I was looking down at a note. David Goggins, if you don't know who David Goggins is, he wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me. And he was a SEAL who tried a couple times to be a SEAL and failed. And if you look him up on Facebook, he has a lot of different videos, but he's very straightforward. And he's very, extremely straightforward, bad language, all those things, but he's very consistent in his message that you just need to look in the mirror and decide who you're going to be in life. I think you need to get sick of your own shit. I saw that the other day that, we constantly do this where we're telling ourselves we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. And you got to stop that. You got to start making some little goals. And it's 5-minute goals. If you haven't walked in, 10 years, then don't go walking, 24 miles like we did this weekend in Las Vegas. Go walk for 5 minutes, go walk for 10 minutes, just increase those things just a little bit at a time. Embrace the suck, as the Marines would say. It's not going to be fun all the time, but you need to embrace that, and you'll be proud of yourself when you're done with those little steps. And it's a day-to-day process. It's not, you're talking about 90 days before you even start really seeing any results. And 90 days sounds like a long time. Divide 90 days by how many years you've been around in this world, and you'll see that it's really a small percentage. So trusting the process is very difficult, but it's necessary for your success in anything you do. Like I said, I'm like a broken record when it comes to these things. This is what I've talked about several times in my podcast, but I'll guarantee you 90% of you are not trusting the process. You're wanting to start things, but you're not doing it. And some of you are, and I'm proud of you people, and I know you're proud of yourself for doing those things, but a lot of us aren't. And I'm one person that I stop trusting myself sometimes. And you really have to trust yourself, and that those little steps are going to make a difference over time. So this is really just a podcast about how you're going to get to that next level. Listen, we're in a situation right now, economically, politically, this is not a good situation. I think things are going to get a lot worse. You cannot count on anybody else except for yourself to move your life forward during these times. You're going to have to do some things. I'll use one of the cliches. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and do some things you're not used to doing. Maybe that's skipping those Netflix series. Maybe that's skipping eating that dessert or eating or doing whatever, or not going to the office or not making that sales call. You've got to make those sales calls. You've got to get out there and exercise. Let me tell you something. Until you get your life where you want your life to be, you can't be as efficient as you need to be for who you're taking care of. I know most of the people that listen to this podcast are nurturers, right? They have kids, they have parents they're taking care of, they have brothers or sisters or spouses or whatever. And I understand that for you to be the best person for them, you're going to have to get your shit together and start trusting the process, right? I'll keep using that cliche. Whether it's smoking, drinking, working out, getting your business, making those sales calls, hitting those numbers, those goals, all those things that companies want you to do, until you're happy with yourself and you're doing those right things, you're not going to be as efficient in these other things. And if you're efficient and you're not doing those great things, I congratulate you, because it's very difficult if you don't have your stuff together to be the best person for those people you're taking care of, that you're nurturing. So I say again, can we just get back to having a plan and executing the plan? Sit down, figure out what you want to do, take some time for yourself. Kit and I being in Las Vegas, we haven't done that. We talked last year, I talked on a podcast about us going to Hawaii. And it's not that we're some world travelers. That's the second time we've been on vacation by ourselves since we met 23 years ago. And we saw the value last year of going on that vacation, just being by ourselves. And, we were in Las Vegas. We weren't in casinos. We were in a pool a lot of the time, just getting too much sun, too much alcohol for me. But it was relaxing, and it gave me a chance to kind of, decompress and kind of figure out where I'm going to have to go. My life has changed so much over the last 10 years, 12 years. And I mean, I would have never thought I'd be in the position I am now. Is it a bad position? I'm in control of this situation. I can tell you that, more so than I've ever been in my entire life. So I like that piece, but it's kind of back to that trust in the process, right? I need to do some things on my own. Whereas before, when I just had a job, the job just kind of took care of itself. If I was lazy one day or something didn't happen, the company wasn't going to stop growing. I know that if I sit around and I'm not doing things that are moving me forward now, it's on me, and no one else is coming to save me from that. So, like I said, we really need to get to a situation where we're telling that story. We're getting over those limitations. We all have them. We just have to look in the mirror and understand the limitations that we have and get over those limitations. It's all possible. You guys all have what it takes to get over those limitations. You just have to take responsibility. The government, nobody's coming to save you. And until it's going to get worse, I just think it's going to get worse. So we've got to do things. We've got to put some things in place. We've got to take care of ourselves. We got to put our big boy pants on, big girl pants, and move our lives forward no matter what, because it's not going to get better for a long time. I'm not being a doomsday person. I'm just saying I'm kind of happy it's happening, because I know you should be trusting yourself more than you trust me, your job, anybody. Some of you have your own businesses. Very difficult in a time like this, unless it's real estate. But you look at real estate, not everybody's killing it. There's some people doing great, some people not so great. So anyway, the bottom line of this podcast is real simple. We need to look in the mirror, come up with our story, tell our story the way we have. Stop with the excuses. Get your self-esteem up. Get off Facebook. And I was off Facebook for 4 days, pretty much. 99% less than I'm usually on it. It actually felt good. But I like Facebook because I get to stay in touch with people like you that are listening. Get to stay in touch with my kids. Get to see what's happening in the world. But it was nice not having to be so diligent about putting memes on there. And I told you before, I put these memes on all the time, And it kind of started out, they were for me. It wasn't for other people, but it turned out that other people enjoyed the memes and they liked the fact that I was doing them on a regular basis. So I keep it up because I think we just need those positive things in our life all the time. And I'm going to get this podcast where I want it at some point. It's going to take a lot of marketing. It's going to take a lot more content. Like I said, I sound like a broken record, but I know if I'm looking back 10 years going, I'm not where I want, I know you are too. We're all getting older. We all want different things now than we did 10 years ago. But if you want those things, you're going to have to trust the process. And I was going to say that again. So anyway, not a super long podcast today. I'm looking for guests. So if you know somebody that wants to be a guest, that would be a good guest and wants to talk about their business or a book or speaking engagements, anything they want to talk about, I'm up for it. It's all positive. We don't do politics. We don't do religion here. We do, how can we move you and I forward? How can we look in the mirror and help each other out and be positive influences to the people around us, especially our kids? And just be better versions of ourselves, I guess. So anyway, this is the edfranklin.no limits podcast. You can reach me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. I'll have another podcast next week. I'm going to do everything I can to get a podcast out every week. Even if I have to read a book in between and we can talk about the book, whatever it is. But keep listening. Keep sharing my podcast if you don't mind. They're not all great. Some might resonate more with others. It's funny when I do these memes, sometimes I get people that really like them. Sometimes they're telling me they're going to steal them, which I'm happy to share those with their friends too. And some days I get those, man, I really needed this today. And those ones make me feel the best. It's because I know they're looking and I know if they needed to hear that, whatever I posted that day, it's awesome. I'll tell you, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me is a great book. I have it on audio. So on the audio book, when they're done with the chapter, they kind of talk about the chapter and discuss it. So it's really cool because you get like an extra little bonus on there. But this guy went through stuff that you probably could never go through in your life and overcame it. I told you before, 1 in 400 trillion that we were even born. We have to do something with our lives. And it's not always about being happy. It's about helping other people and getting involved with nonprofits or whatever you guys do out there. Like I said, I know who my audience is. They're all nurturing, caring people, and we need to spend some time helping those other people. So anyway, I'll see you next week. edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. Follow me on YouTube. Look for my podcast if you're listening to it, you already know where to get it, but Spotify, Apple, iHeart, all the places you find podcasts on there. And it's going to get bigger because you guys are going to help me make it bigger. Have a great week. Enjoy your summer. Stay cool. And we'll talk to you soon.